Good morning. Hi, Camilla. Nice to meet you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Camilla. Nice to meet you.
Morning. Alessandra. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Meet
you.
you.
No, that's okay. I'm gonna come down one row.
You don't have to.
No, this will work. Get closer.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet
I'm
you.
always the-
Hi, Camilla.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Alessandra, nice to meet you. You have like a clicker? Yes. Oh, wait, 30, sorry.
Yes.
Hello, Star Consulting. Welcome to the 24-hour preliminary round of CoMIS 2023. My name is Henry Jonas. Today's presentation will be judged by JJ Parker, Mike McFarland, Mike Stifel, Eric Selvig, and Emily Miller. You will have 25 minutes in total, 15 minutes of protected presentation time and 10 minutes of Q&A. During the protected presentation time, judges are not permitted to interject and ask questions. If you finish your presentation before the 15 minutes end, you will still only have 10 minutes for the Q&A. There will be a hard cutoff at 15 minutes, and we will be giving you a time warning when 3 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds are left. Permitted to begin.
As a child, I always remember running around the pool and my mom shouting at me, "Ade, stop running." Well, when I was a child, I didn't really understand why I could do that. However, now that I'm old, I understood that that was extremely dangerous. And for that reason, me and my team are committed to make sure that we're able to enhance and bring LifeFloor's product to the next step by paving its future. The situation that we've identified when analyzing this case is that LifeFloor finds itself it's experiencing inefficient operations due to its manual staff operation and due to its reliance on this. We have decided to answer the question of how can LifeFloor optimize its operation and use automation to scale its operation. Well, after analyzing different alternatives, then we came to this, we adopted two main solutions. First, introduce automation systems, and second, adopt a centralized ecosystem platform. We believe that these solutions will be able to achieve three main impacts. First, a 5.77 times ROI. Second, a 41% increase in annual savings between 2025 and 2027. These are the 3 last years of our implementation timeline. And all of this will be achieved with an investment of only $42,500 over the course of 5 years. We started looking at the company and realized that the current operations are time-consuming and inefficient. We were shocked and intrigued by the fact that it often takes two weeks or longer to go through a process that should only take a couple of hours. And this is mostly because there's manual operations involved in the processes. There are extensive times taken to complete these actions and to get the information back to the client. And often this creates communication backlogs in the firm. Therefore, we realized that these issues then create further complications at LifeFloor, for instance, communication issues. Disconnected softwares result in scattered data among platforms. This was our second core issue that we've identified. Currently, LifeFloor uses Slack, Google Drive to communicate and share the information among teams. We are trying to reduce these platforms and create an ecosystem. And we will try to do this by using Office 365. When looking at why we think this is important, we saw some data that struck our attention. For instance, 46% of organizations identify disconnected data as a source of struggle to meet customer needs. And 72% of firms are missing out on opportunities because of disconnected data. Unfortunately, we find that LifeLore finds itself in these statistics, as we're not currently able to adapt, incorporate, and onboard further clients, as we have long time taken to implement these, to give these products and these services to our clients. That's why we believe that adopting an interconnected ecosystem will reduce scattered data and increase the operations and performance of LifeLores. Therefore, the key question that we're here to answer today is how can LifeLore optimize its operations and use automation to scale its organization? I'll now pass it on to Fed. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to the two recommendations for today. We're looking at automation and platform adjustments. The first strategy is automation, and we recommend using automated design technology. And the main problem that we have identified and that Ale has mentioned in the situational analysis is that the counting of the tiles is done manually. And this means that there's too much time taken in between all of the processes. There's more delays after the manual counting process. Therefore, the automation will be the best way to improve these time delays. So currently, LifeLore is using AutoCAD and Adobe Illustrator, which are the two softwares. However, we believe that this is not the best way because they still have to do the manual tile count. Therefore, instead of using only these two platforms, we recommend using building information modeling and parametric design. Now, how this works is that the BIM will have the automatic generation of the grids. So when you have the surface area of a project, you have the surface area of the tiles, and you have all of the inputs and the parameters, such as the length and width of the tiles. Then with this, it'll be applied on top of a grid, which is automatically generated through the BIM technology. And the exact number of tiles needed will be calculated. So it will calculate the exact number of the full and also the partial tiles. And one really great advantage of this is that it helps to optimize waste, and it will optimize the full tile that LifeLore will need. Secondly, parametric design is what will be needed to make the actual design and to have elaborate designs for the customers. So going back to back again. So the grid will be designed, and the tiles and layers will be positioned on top of the grid. And with this, there's also different shapes. For example, there can be arcs, there can be different cutouts for the tiles, which is what will be used to make the actual designs. Now, focusing in on the next slide, we have a case study for multi-objective optimization, which is one example of this. And as you can see in the image, if you select the panels on host, then you're able to actually automatically count the panels in the tiles, which is the job that needs to be done to speed up the full process. And as you can see here, as soon as you click on that, it will tell you that there's 627 panels immediately. This cuts out all the time delays that are currently being implemented. And as well as this, after you can schedule the panels and you can analyze all the data related to it once you have counted all the tiles. Moving on to the next, we dive into multi-objective optimization further. And you have all the inputs that I have previously mentioned. And with this, they will be used to calculate the optimization and to calculate exactly the waste that you can minimize. So one interesting thing about a multi-objective optimization is that you can choose one goal to focus on. For example, we have been looking at minimizing the material wastage. So if you see in the image, you can choose to maximize the full tile count and minimize the partial tile count. And this is done to really minimize the amount of tiles that you need. This can save costs and it will save time as well. And two softwares that we have looked at are Revit and Dynamo, which are really great. And Revit can also be linked to NetSuite, which you currently use. Now, moving on to the second recommendation, we recommend moving into an ecosystem. So currently, the system is disconnected. You're using Slack and Google Drive. However, we believe that having Slack as a communication, but then having Google Drive as the files and documents is too disconnected. And we would like to implement having OneDrive, Microsoft 365. And with this, you can have all of the communication in one place, all of the files and documents all in the same place. And as well as this, moving moving from Google Drive to OneDrive is very simple and easy to do. You just have to download a zip file and implement it onto OneDrive, and everything will be centralized under the same platform. Moving on to one specific example and recommendation is to use Microsoft Teams instead of Slack. And the reason for this is because it can really streamline the project quotes. With Teams, you can have the chats, messaging, you can have calls, you can have the files, as well as this. Instead of using Google Sheets, you can use Excel, which is that has many more benefits. And there's many more documents and files in the single cloud platform. Thank you. Now moving on to Camilla.
Thank you, Fed. So we've looked at the benefits of BIM and parametric design in terms of automation. We've also looked at the benefits of Microsoft 365 in terms of communication and streamlining workflow. This is how it will look like for LifeFloor. As we can see, the three teams, sales, shared design, and sales design and shared services teams are communicating in a straight line. Therefore, the communication is really simple and it all happens through Microsoft OneDrive. In terms of the automation that happens, in this case, through the Revit software, this is automated in the backend, and not many teams have to look at the counting of the tiles and the transfer of tile data from Revit through NetSuite, because this is also done automatically. Although we acknowledge that installers might want to have a say in how tiles are counted, we believe that the comprehensive reports that are generated through Revit, which show not only counts, but also floor plans and the specifics about each and every tile that is counted, might make it much faster for installer partners to count the tiles and get back to LifeFloor as well, therefore decreasing overall time and maximizing efficiency. In terms of investment, LifeFloor will have to spend, as mentioned, $42.5 thousand over 5 years. This investment is also streamlined over 5 years, so even though it is a significant amount, only 36% happens in the first 2 years. This way, LifeFloor will be able to check if the technology actually works for them, if it's effective, given the specifics of its tasks related to counting tiles and how it connects with NetSuite as well. Because of that, in 2023, there will be only an investment of $7,200. So this investment will happen gradually. And this also causes NetSuite to experience minimal loss in the first year, but become profitable from second year and beyond in terms of savings that are made in the time that employees in each and every team spend throughout the whole workflow process. Therefore, in total, during the last 3 years, 41% increase in savings will happen year over year. In addition to that, there will be a 5.77 times return on investment at the end of the 5 years, which, as we can see in the chart, happens exponentially. We assume that there will be an average of 2 hours per design that is saved by both the design team and the shared services team together. So how does this look like in terms of risks? We have considered, first of all, that our main risk is, what if the Revit software or a BIM software just doesn't work in counting tiles effectively? This is the greatest risk that we've considered, and the way we would mitigate that risk for LifeFloor is, again, implementing this gradually. So implementing a 6-month trial at the end of 2023 in order to verify that the technology works and that it's effective given the specifics of the task. If it doesn't work, then LifeFloor has 2 options. 1, go back to AutoCAD, which is implemented by Autodesk. That's the same company that implements Revit in the first place, and not use Adobe Illustrator and link AutoCAD directly to NetSuite, which would be effective. It would be just less effective in counting tiles and optimizing waste. Or they could go ahead and use another BIM software. There are a wide range of BIM softwares with different pricing and different subscription models. I'd be happy to dive into this in the Q&A. So the key word is gradual implementation. There's a difference between short-term and long-term. And we can see this in our timeline. As we can see, in 2023, the majority of the implementation will happen in terms of implementing the software, implementing Microsoft Teams, and linking the software to NetSuite. However, the majority of the costs will not be incurred until later on. So as we can see, first, a more standardized software will be implemented in the short term. We thought about more customized solutions and more technological solutions, such as artificial intelligence in other ways. However, we believe that it would be too far-fetched of a solution in the short term. And it is better to rely on a standardized software first and customize it later on, which is absolutely possible once LifeFloor finds out how this software works specifically for them. So the keyword again is gradually. As we can see, we also accounted for training in our cost. So our cost is mostly related to automation rather than Microsoft Suite. Microsoft Suite is 32% of the cost. And this training will be repeated in 2023 and 2025 in order to give employees the possibility to actually learn how to use the software effectively. So we've looked at the question, how can LifeFloor optimize its operation and use automation in order to scale its organization, both in terms of workflow and in terms of return time from counting the tiles, generating the quotes automatically, and finally getting back to the clients with a comprehensive client report. Our solutions are a more automated way of counting tiles and producing quotes, and a more streamlined communication in terms of connecting the teams together, looking at what each team is doing, creating, as similar to Slack, channels for each project, which would be more centralized in the Microsoft 365 environment. Thus paving the way for LifeFloor to generate more effective operations in both the short term and the long term.
So, with our mission, we're here to make sure that we're able to pave the future with LifeFloor all together. Thank you, and we're open to any questions.
I've got a couple. I'll just ask one of them here. So you're recommending Revit.
Mhm.
Is Revit a design tool that will replace the CAD, or is it something different?
Yes, so Revit would be a design tool. It would go ahead and replace AutoCAD. So AutoCAD is based on CAD technology, Revit is based on BIM technology. Although CAD is effective potentially, BIM is even more effective because of the predictive design component that it has into it. You're able to input parameters and based on your goals, such as minimizing waste, as we've seen in our case study, it's able to optimize the tile distribution better than AutoCAD.
Did you think about the change implications moving for the designers from AutoCAD to Revit? Is it pretty simple?
And it is simple in the way that Revit software in particular is implemented by Autodesk. That's the same software that implements AutoCAD in the first place. So as we can see in our appendix, is it possible for us to, sorry.
You're okay.
As we can see here. So these are the kind of tools that AutoCAD offers. Revit offers the same tools as it is implemented by the same company. So the transition in terms of what you have to do within the software is pretty simple. Besides, we're eliminating Adobe Illustrator, so that makes it even more automated. And we're implementing training so that the design team actually learns how to use it effectively.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of data in Slack because we've been using Slack channels as for each project. How are we going to move that data and not lose that data if we switch from Slack to Office 365 and Teams?
That's a great concern. So just to get it right, you're concerned of the issue of transitioning from Slack to Teams, right?
Yeah, specifically, I don't want to lose any of the data of all of the projects that the team has been chatting about.
Yeah.
In Slack. Historical data, yep.
Yeah, we thought about that and we looked into it and we saw that first of all, we can download all that data and transfer it onto Teams or onto a separate drive where we'll be able to access it. And then we can also potentially switch from a Slack, like currently, I assume that you're using a Slack module where you're paying. We can downgrade and go to one that's not like a free version. So we will still have access to Slack, to that information, but starting from now, we will start using Teams, as it will be easier to connect with our other platforms that we use. For instance, we can easily use Excel instead of spreadsheets. We can have calls, schedule calls among each other. We can have a more efficient calendar. So all these factors are taken into account. Obviously, it will take a while to get accustomed to Teams, but overall, this will help us be able to look into the future and be more efficient and productive in that context.
Thank you.
Yeah, for the Revit software is how difficult is it to configure it to know our designs and our cuts so that it knows how to calculate the cost? Is that something out of the box, or do we have to customize that, or?
I might need to go ahead. Yeah, so the Revit software, as you can see, there have been many case studies in which they've analyzed what you can do with it. It is an architecture software at heart. So the training is necessary for a person that doesn't have that specific background. But in terms of implementation, as Fed explained, you can simply, if you want to use it in a simple way, you can just implement the parameters of tiles, how big they are, how large they are, what material they are done with for the cuts to be more effective. And you will get this kind of result. So that's the partial tile count, partial tile area, the discarded area. So it kind of tells you how much waste you're producing, as well as how many partial and total tiles you need. So that's what you're able to do by just implementing the parameters. If you do get training and you use it as an architecture software, you're able to do more than that and implement designs to it as well.
Will it actually calculate the size of the tiles for me if I give it the parameters of the entire area, space, and the design?
Yes, you implement the floor grid, and then you implement the data about the tiles, how big you want them to be. You can also implement designs in there as well, and it implements the total area of the tile. So as we can see, it implements, so that's the partial tile count into there. It's a bit blurry. The partial tile area as well. It also implements, you can also calculate the full tile area if you wanted to.
Thank you.
We go to the financials.
Yes, absolutely. Here. These are the estimates. If you want to see the slide for the main.
Yeah, I think 42.5 sticks in my head, so that's where we'll start from. And that was over a course of how many?
5 years.
5 years. And what made up that primary expense? Could you kind of break down the cost? I understand where you have the trial with Revit is a possibility for 6 months, so you don't have to do a lot of investment. But obviously you've got installation or software licenses and things like that. So tell me how you came up with these numbers.
So the way that Revit works specifically, it's a subscription model. You can do monthly subscription, annual subscription, and the 3-year subscription. That's the way you're able to do a 6-month trial through monthly subscriptions first. If that works effectively, you can do a year subscription in 2024. As we can see, that's a BIM standardized software. And then in 2025, there'll be the 3-year subscription. There wouldn't be any cost in 2026 and 2027 because it's paid all in 2025. Another big cost driver is the integration software, which in this case, it would be AgriLink. It's costly, but it is also really effective in implementing the data that's calculated through Revit into NetSuite automatically. So these are the two big cost drivers.
And these numbers, when you were thinking 42.5, this isn't like put a couple more zeros on it. You're really saying it's 42,500.
That's the cost of the subscription. So that's it, pretty much. That's also the cost of the subscription for AgriLink. So that's a pretty standardized cost that's online on their website page.
All right, and then for Microsoft Office, which is Microsoft 365 in your grid there. Subscription cost is $1,500. How many licenses do we get with that?
So the cost is pretty much per user. So that's the cost that we would take to allow all 20 employees to use Microsoft.
So $1,500 for 20 people to use Microsoft
That's
Office.
1,500.
Sorry, 1,500
Yes.
for the year for 20 users.
Yes, it's 12.5 per month, per user,
So $12 a month per user.
pretty much.
Okay. Gotcha. And that gives you the full suite of Office 365, Teams, Drives.
That's the most expensive subscription model.
Okay.
Yeah, it provides all of Microsoft 365 products, so like OneDrive, Excel, PowerPoint, Word, Teams, Outlook.
Gotcha.
And for this one, if I may add, we also chose the best plan because we thought that it would be better to have all of the features and all of the platforms all in one to build the ecosystem that we're looking for.
Thank you.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what you have a line item for training costs? Where did you get those numbers?
Oh, yeah. So for training costs, actually Autodesk offers training on their products and they have pretty standardized costs as well. That's the cost that it would take for an 8-month project, or 8-month training program through Autodesk. So that's also on their website. It's all linked in the source.
You had talked about doing all of this, we save 2 hours in our end-to-end process.
Mhm.
And I think the end-to-end process is 2 weeks right now, and they were trying to squish it. That seems small. Where are we gaining 2 hours and where are we still having basically 2 weeks of elapsed time?
We looked at the time span and it says it's up to 2 weeks. So I think that with this, we're able to save time in each project. And I think once you add on all the time saved for each project, it will be significant.
Yeah, you also specified when we asked the question yesterday that it's mostly 1 to 2 hours in for the design team and 2 to 3 hours for the shared services team to input the data into NetSuite. So that's where the main saving comes from. It's 30 minutes total with automation for both the design team and the shared services team to input the data into Revit and input it into NetSuite.
Okay.
So duration versus actual time.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Which once the operations are more efficient and the backlog will reduce, we will be able to provide our customers with, for instance, all this information that we're preparing much
Yeah.
quicker than what's currently happening.
So thank you for your presentation. The judges will give their feedback in this room at 10:30. Please return here at 10:30 if you'd like to receive feedback. And at this point, you may exit the room with your liaison. As a reminder, you're not permitted to watch any of the preliminary rounds.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Right here.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.